WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American over here in Germany, tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Fairly rare, fairly exotic, one of 1,000 bottles, a Germany exclusive. What do I have? I have Tullibardine, the Murray. I have a Highland single malt Scotch whisky with a Zinfandel cask finish. Distilled 2012. Bottled 2023. So I'm going to call it an 11-year-old whiskey. 46% ABV, Whiskybase 242640. And we have a price in Germany of $59.90. So, of the Tullibardine Murray's distilleries, also, by the way, it's also the Mackay's collection. I have hardly had a bad whiskey. I think Tullibardine, the Murrays, are one of the best kept secrets in the Scotch whisky world. Not all of the Tullibardine products are great. There's some cheaper stuff out there with numbers of barrel sizes that are not wonderful whiskeys, but the Murrays, at least in my personal, very limited experience so far, have been not disappointing, but rather very exciting. And this is another one of them. Now, you could have just taken a normal, I'm going to say it like it is, Tullibardine, the Murray, and just poured 4 teaspoons of Zinfandel in the whiskey. Did this once and twice and then say, yes, we're finished. Now, there is no mention whatsoever on the bottle of natural color. But look, this is a red hue. It has to. You can't get this from caramel coloring. This is the red wine, the Zinfandel cask, which is coming through. There is no mention of non-chilled filtered on here. When I put water in here, I get a little bit of the Scottish, the mist, the haze. Please, Tullibardine, do us and do yourself a favor. Put non-chilled filtered natural color someplace here on the label. We, the geeks, the fans, would really, really like that. All right, so there's a QR code. It goes directly to the tullibardine.com website. It's a product of Scotland. It's bottled exclusively for the German importer Whiskeymax, and I think it's a good whiskey. So what am I going to compare it to? Now, I'm a little bit behind on some of my bottles I'm supposed to do reviews on, and so I just decided to do a bottle I've never had before in a video. A Germany exclusive, bottled exclusively for Europe, not Germany, and it's the Muscatel wood finish from Glenallachie, 12 years of age, 48%, no color added, non-chilled filtered. It's on the bottle. It's on the box, it's on the bottle, and here we have Whiskybase number 237148, and this goes at a price of €167.90. So 68 versus over here we have a more moderate price of 59. So about 10 euros in difference. Since I don't have a box for this and there is no box that came with it, I'm just going to put this down here, and so we have bottle versus bottle. A little dumpy bottle versus a very high bottle. Now, this doesn't fit in my shelving unit, but my shelving unit's a little bit artificially tighter than it should be. As you can see, I put in an extra addition of wood here so that these do not sag. And so if I try to put this in here, there's about 1/4 inch, about 2 centimeters that are just in the way. Let's say 1/2 inch. But in a normal shelving unit, it just barely fits in, which is great. So everything over in Europe is usually normed, even bottles. And by the way, if I do exactly the same thing here with do I have a bottle of this? I don't have a bottle of it at the moment. New Riff, it doesn't work. New Riff is about 1/2 inch too tall, above this even. All right, in the nose. All right, I get a tartness. I get a berry tartness, a raspberry, a red currant tartness. Zinfandel. I would love to have known, where does the cask come from? Is it a French wine cask? Is it a Spanish wine cask? Is it a Californian wine cask? Is it from England, a wine cask? Now, there are very, very few vineyards in England or the Great Britain, but there are a few, and who knows? All right, so give us information. We today, the the consumer, we're spoiled for choice, and please help us make wise and educated decisions by giving us the information we need. So very few people will say, "Oh no, it's a French Zinfandel, and therefore I'm not going to buy the whiskey." They're like, "Oh, that's interesting." It's more of a added additional factor in our decision process, and something that would actually turn us off from buying the whiskey. So please, as much transparency as possible. Tell us where the casks come from, the country. Is it American wood? Is it European wood? Is it French oak? Is it Spanish oak? All these things can still be added on top of the information you've given us. All right, Whiskeymax, thank you very much for being a good importer for Tullibardine. And as I said, I get the tartness, I get a little bit of yeast, I get a little bit of oak spice, and I get a little bit of vanilla in there. Over here, the Muscatel from Glenallachie, 12 years of age. Much sweeter, much more round, much less of a tartness, but rather more of a almost a butterscotch moment. Very, very, very nice on the nose. I like this. All right, we're here to review the Tullibardine. Cheers. The exceptional thing about the Tullibardine, the Murray in this case, the 46% just perfectly balanced. There's no heat. There's alcohol that supports, but no heat. There is the red wine moment going on in here. You still have the woody, that you have the wood, the spice, a little bit of the barley sugars, a little bit of the yeast moment still going on in there. But you have the tartness, a little bit of that red berries, of that red wine. And that's very, very nice. This is a C+ whiskey. If I were to go out and say, hey, I had 65 euros to burn, no, I have 59 euros to burn, I have 60 euros to burn, I'm looking for something with a red wine finish, this is going to be hard to beat. Now, I must also admit, I'm definitely not a peat head, I'm not the red wine cask finish connoisseur. I will drink it, I will not refuse it, but it's not something I'm actively seeking out. I do think this red wine cask finished Zinfandel is very, very well done. And I hope that the 1,000 bottles will be sold in Germany in a very, very short amount of time. I think the price is good. I'm going to give it a solid C. Now, of course, $49.90 would be great as a price, but we no longer live in 2018. We have 2025, 5 years later. Prices have gone up, inflation has gone up, the cost of living has gone up, and therefore the price is not bad for what you get. And as I've said before, the Tullibardine, the Murray, usually it's a guarantee for good quality whiskey. I think this is one of the secret brands, one of the secret distilleries flying under the radar. Not everything of Tullibardine is great. So I did not like the number bottles, so the different sizes, the different casks they use for that in their core range at the lower end of the price scale. But if you get up a little bit to the Murray collections, the Muscat collections, you're often going to get many, many more times than not a very, very nicely well done whiskey. And I like it. C+, value for money, C. Now the Muscatel, the 12-year-old here from Glenallachie, exclusively for Europe, the tartness is totally missing. There's a sweetness here going on, which is very, very common for the Muscatel. So fino, let's just skip the palo cortado, oloroso, and then you usually have the Pedro Jimenez at the very end with a dark, rich raisin moment, very thick whiskey, and very thick sherry. And before that, you have Muscatel. Muscatel is a different type of grapes, and it doesn't have to actually grow in that region of sherry around Jerez. And so you have some very interesting casks. And I've tried a lot of whiskeys with a lot of different sherry finishes, and I love often the Pedro Jimenez. I thoroughly enjoy almost every Palo Cortado. And what I've often found out is I very, very much appreciate the Moscatel sherry cask finishes. And that's what I'm getting here. This is also a well done whiskey. This is a whiskey I can recommend. Should it be 10 euros less? Yes, of course. Which one would I gravitate towards? If I want to have more of a tartness in my whiskey, I'm going to gravitate here. If I want more of a sweetness in my whiskey, which I would say 95% of the time I want, maybe even 99.5%, I would go to the Moscatel. And so this is the whiskey I would choose over this. Now, after saying this is a good whiskey, this is maybe a tick better whiskey in my opinion, because of the cask, of the choice of the casks used here. The Moscatel is, in my opinion, superior to the Zinfandel, but because of the tartness versus the sweetness, I have a sweet tooth, I'm here. All right, so thank you very much for question of the day. What is your favorite Tullibardine whiskey? New question of the day. What is your favorite Zinfandel cask finish whiskey? That's going to be a hard one. I don't even know if I can find very, very many Zinfandel finished whiskeys here in Whiskybase. So let's type this in here real quick. Zinfandel. We have the Tullibardine. We have the Buffalo Trace Experimental Collection from 1992. That was bottled 2017. We have from Big Bottom Small Batch Zinfandel Cask Strength Bourbon Whiskey. We have from Tullibardine an Old Vine Zinfandel finish, also from America, bottled 2019. There are not that many whiskeys out there that have used Zinfandel. There's even a Houghton Young 6-year-old American whiskey from 2022, Zinfandel cask finish. That's it. I can't find much more. What other things do you know of the Zinfandel finish? Thank you very much for watching, liking, subscribing. Don't forget to tell others. See you soon. Whiskey Jason here. Bye-bye.